Thank you for listening to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Stitcher. Also, please follow Matt's Movie Reviews on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Reddit, Instagram, and MeWe. And of course, be sure to visit mattsmoviereviews.net for the latest reviews, top 10 lists, and more. Now, on to the show.
Getting hot in here 15 minutes before the wonderful Elvis Cooney. Oh, you're gonna love it.
How you doing, Justin? Your expression tells me that you're solving trouble with those hemorrhoids.
The only pain in the ass around here is you, dickhead.
The boat is sinking, Elvis. You're not interested in your social media.
I'm a radio host, not a TikTok jock.
Talk to Elvis, live on the line.
Okay, we got Gary on the line. What say you, Gary? Uh-oh, we got a breather. How you doing, Gary?
I'm at your house, asshole.
This is some kind of joke.
My gun is pressed against your daughter's temple.
Call 911. Tell me what's going on. Are you a fan of the show, just trying to create some kind of buzz?
I want to ruin your life, just like you ruined mine.
The police will take you out if you don't comply. Now, I won't press charges. I just want you to leave me alone.
Better not cut me off the air. They said I was psychologically damaged. Bullshit.
Please, let my wife and daughter go. This can still end well.
I don't want it to end well.
What's going on? The cops say there's no one home.
I am with your family.
Elvis, get out of here.
They fought. They squealed.
It's gonna blow everything up. Windows, the door, the basement, the garage. Everything is wired to blow.
He's in the building. If we don't want to die, we gotta fight.
The guy that came around with the woman and the little girl? Is he talking into your headphones right now?
He's been watching us from the start.
If you find me, I won't blow up the building, and I'll just kill Elvis.
Let my girls go, okay? I'm too old to play fucking hide and seek, all right? I can never forget his eyes, and he's totally cuckoo.
Gary, the cops are coming in right now. I'm begging you, please, give it up.
Put down your weapons now! Don't touch that door!
I don't think I can do this.
You son of a...
This could have made a great movie. What do you think?
I think you need a rewrite.
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 473. Out now on digital and video on demand is On the Line, a thriller that stars Mel Gibson as a late-night radio DJ who was terrorized by a caller who claims to have his family hostage. A twist-filled mystery led by a charismatic Mel Gibson. On the Line is written and directed by Romuald Boulanger, who I'm glad to say joins me now on the podcast. Romuald, I thank you so very much for your time today.
Yeah, hi, Matt. I'm very happy. I'm thrilled to be with you.
And I'm happy that you're with me too. It's really interesting, this movie On the Line. Just looking into it, this is actually based on originally a short film that you did back in 2019 called Talk, and that starred William Baldwin.
Exactly.
So really, I just wanted to go back to that kind of the creation of that short film that you did back then. I know that you were a radio host yourself in your native country. Does the encounters of that profession kind of lead to kind of your imagination swirling into the creation of the Talk and what we're seeing now on the Line? Did you have kind of experiences yourself? I'm not to the extremes that we see in this movie, but I imagine, being, a public figure in some context, you have been open to a lot of kind of crazies in your time. Did any of those experiences kind of influence what we're seeing on the screen now?
Well, it's a great question because it's actually happened to me literally. What's happening in the film, I put some lot of Easter eggs because I know this world of radio very well. I did I was a radio host for 15 years on the biggest radio station in music radio station in France called Energy. It's like Kiss FM but national. And one day the switchboard operator doing a show, I was doing a night show, called me and say, "Oh, I have someone who wants to talk to you before being on the air." And I take the phone, and the guy says, "I kidnapped your mother, and if you do not put me live on the air, I will kill her." And unfortunately for his plant, my mother was not in this world anymore, so it didn't work very well. But back then I was laughing about it, but when I was searching for a subject for a movie, I think it's a very good start.
Yeah, it's such a wow. So when something like that happens and you have someone to call you up that way, even though you know that person is lying, I imagine for yourself you had to think exactly what type of psychological demons does this person have to go down that road.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it. I mean, night callers are different than the one who are listening to the radio station during the day. So I was struggling with sometimes with listeners who it could be just a joke. It could be just someone who usually it's a joke, but I didn't really took seriously that threat. But it could be serious. I mean, I was thinking, if it had happened, and if my mother was still alive back then, I would probably be like, "Hey, it's a joke, but hey, could you go further?" And if I hear my mother on the phone, what I would do, I would probably, I don't know, put him live on the air and tell everything he would ask, definitely. So that was the point, and that the thing in the film, someone calls during a night show with Mel and. Saying, like you said, kidnapped his wife and his daughter, and it's pretty scary thing.
So that short film had William Baldwin in the role of Elvis, who's the talk show host here. This feature, of course, has Mel Gibson. How did Mel Gibson become involved in this production? Because, you know, Mel Gibson is one of the biggest movie stars in the history of cinema, filmmaker as well. As an Australian myself, we have a cultural lineage with him because he's part Australian as well. How did he kind of become involved in what we see now with On the Line?
You know, a movie, it's very hard sometimes to produce a movie and to put everything together and to make a movie. And first of all, I have to say I was so blessed to work with William Baldwin. It was incredible on the short movie. We actually had like 70, something like 65 to 70 awards on this short film, and Billy had like half of it. He had like mostly 35 awards for his performance in the short. And then when I developed the long version, we sent the script to Mel, and we were very lucky. Mel loved the script, and we actually shot the film in France.
I think what's you really tap into with Mel Gibson in something that only a few filmmakers know how to get from him is his sense of humor. He really does have a kind of like a zany kind of sense of humor. He likes to make jokes. He likes to, you know, get down and dirty with his jokes as well. How important was that kind of element to your story? I don't want to give away spoilers, but I mean, to try to tap into that element, into the personality of Elvis, to tap into that humor that Mel has, I think it's such an essential ingredient to this movie.
Well, Mel is the center of the movie. I mean, he's on the 1 hour and 40 minutes long. Mel is on screen for 1 hour and 38 minutes. So it's him, and we follow his journey into that thing. I mean, Mel is fun. He's really fun. He's on set. He makes jokes. He's a very fun guy to work with. He's apart from all his talent and thing, it was very, very nice to work with him. And I'm happy because in the film we can feel that Mel is like that. He could joke. So I think it's a perfect role for him.
The other big part of the movie you don't really see on screen, it's the voice of the caller. I'm really curious in regards to logistically how you do that kind of thing on set. when Mel is interacting with the voice, does he hear that voice, or is that you or someone else off camera giving him the lines? I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, no, I didn't want that. I didn't want having like an assistant or me like hiding behind a chair saying the lines. I wanted Mel to feel live what's going on, and so we actually created the thing that he could hear in his headphones live Paul Spera's voice. Paul is playing the character of Gary, and so we. On the set, we had Paul on a separate room, and he was doing his voice live, and it worked very, very well because Mel was feeling it. It's much better. I mean, than instead of having like someone telling badly the lines. I mean, I think it's the best way to do it.
You shot in Paris. The film is set in the one location, which is the radio station. You worked in, of course, for such a long time in radio stations. Where are you actually filming in that in the movie? Is it actual place, like an actual live radio station that you're filming in?
Yeah, not at all. Actually, the story takes place in Los Angeles, so okay. So that makes sense. We shot that in Paris, but no. So we actually built an entire radio station floor, and the goal was to match an American building. So from the light bulbs to the plugs, and everything was American. I mean, the idea is to feel that we're on the 30th floor on an American building. So we were on a famous, legendary studio lot called Studio de Brie-sur-Marne, which is where a lot of movies are made. And so on the soundstage, we create that. And the view, you see the view of LA, the back behind the windows are actually a picture of LA and light by behind. And so we have that. I mean, it's great. Shooting in the studio, it's easier for a filmmaker, for the crew. You manage the lights, and I created actually with Emmanuel Réveillère, who's the head of design team. We created the whole thing, like saying, I want that here, I want that here. And so it was exactly what I had in mind.
The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by TeePublic. TeePublic is the world's largest marketplace for independent creators to sell their work on the highest quality merchandise. With over 1.2 million designs, TeePublic is sure to have something you love. The Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is brought to you by Amazon. The world's leading online store, Amazon is your first stop to buy a wide range of products at competitive prices with fast delivery times. Amazon is also a world-class entertainment hub that includes Prime Video, Audible, Twitch, Amazon Music, and more. Sign up with Amazon today and experience the best in online shopping and entertainment. Please support Matt's Movie Reviews on Patreon. Get access to exclusive content, request movie reviews and top 10 lists, and help support my work. Please click on the Patreon link in the description below. This is really is a twist-filled kind of like story. It takes you to places you didn't really expect. When it comes to that kind of element of the movie, how do you like to play with that in regards to your writing, to your screenplay? Do you have different alternate kind of versions of where the story might want to go, and you kind of work on it that way? Do you, or do you kind of like, are you set with like one path and then that's the only path you're going to go down?
To be honest, I had for this one the big twist from the beginning. I actually found the twist before writing the movie, so I knew it's gonna end like that. And I don't want to spoil it, but you saw the movie, so yes. So you understand my point. I mean, the twist is everything. The twist is everything. I think the movie, if without the twist, would have like not the same flavor. It would be like a regular movie you could watch with a threat and with the guy you're trying to struggle. But I wanted to have that feeling at the beginning, and the idea is to surprise at the end. So I don't want to tell more, but people have to take the ride.
When it comes to that kind of like the psychological aspect of making a film, do you have any experiences of your own watching a movie where a surprise or a twist will come and really kind of like stick to you? Because like for me, the biggest one that I remembered for myself was the first time I watched The Usual Suspects in the ending of that movie. And then, there's other films, of course, that have come out since then that kind of go down the same kind of road, but doesn't have the same impact. Do you remember what films that you saw as a filmmaker that where there was like a twist to the story where they kind of got you the way that this movie might get other people?
Oh yeah, Usual Suspects, The Guilty. It's a Danish movie with a remake on Netflix by
Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah,
exactly. It was pretty good. The Guilty was a kind of very cool movie with the big twist at the end. I would say The Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense was one of my favorite movie of all time because I was so catched. And recently, I was thinking also, The Game. It's a game.
Oh yeah, the David Fincher. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, when I met Mel the first time, he said that the script reminded him that the David Fincher movie. So I was pretty happy with that reference.
Who do you base your shock jock on in regards to the character? I mean, does Mel have his own interpretation? Does he have his own kind of like influence of? Because I know that William Baldwin said that Don Imus was someone that he kind of looked at for his kind of like his interpretation of Elvis. What about for Mel? Did he kind of look at different shock jocks and kind of like based like his interpretation of how they kind of did it, or is this kind of stuff from his own kind of like personality, his own kind of sense of humor that really kind of formed the role?
I think it's a mix of everything. I think when you create a character, we discussed a lot with Mel, and it's a mix of how it's a mix of what I think about the character, what he thinks about the characters, and actually living in France, I have people in mind, but French hosts, like nobody would know outside France, but so we there is always these in every country, in everywhere there is these old a radio host, like 30 years old of radio, and who are still talking to people every night, and that kind of that's the base of the character. And then you bring Mel with all this sense of humor and his charisma, and you have my character.
When it comes to radio, yourself being a radio host, especially the type of radio, shock jock that Mel Gibson plays in the film, what kind of standing does that still have in culture these days? Now you look to YouTube, you look to podcasts for these kind of personalities, right? What do you think the shock, does a radio personality kind of like Elvis, does that kind of can still make a mark and still make a cultural mark these days, do you think? Or do you think that the paradigm has shifted now to online, where you have to your Jake Pauls and your such? Are they kind of like the new shock jock, do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the world is changing, and that's the point of the film. If you notice at the end, that's why we have this twist, and also this character is struggle in the old world where there is this young people around him. His boss, played by Nadia Forrest, saying that you're not on Twitter, you're not on TikTok, and he says, I'm not a TikTok guy, I'm not TikTok, I'm a radio host. I mean, it's hard. I was a radio host from the 90s to the beginning of the 2000 something, and the social medias were not that big, and I think it's hard today. The radio host today, I think, has to have a big audience on social media to exist, which is kind of crazy because his job is to be on the radio station. But today it's more than that, but I like this I like these old characters stuck in that old way of doing the radio.
Old school way of doing it.
Exactly. Yes. Also, you said it.
Yeah. And like, I think Mel kind of suits it because his personality, I think, is very much an old school kind of guy. He likes to, and Elvis, I imagine that kind of old school thing, that might be the reason why the character is named Elvis, right? Because when you think of Elvis, you think of like the old school kind of like the, not only the singer, but the name itself is not one that really kind of comes across that often. And so if someone does have that name, there's a certain kind of attachment to that, isn't there? Kind of like an old school attachment, right?
Yeah, it was not meant to be. It was just because I love the name and I love the radio host in New York called Elvis Duran. He's a great guy. And I love his show. He's working on a radio called Z100 on New York. And I loved Elvis. And actually there is like a tribute to the king in the movie when the character leave the building. There is the switchboard operator saying Elvis has left the building, which is kind of it's a tribute to the king.
Well, it's a fine tribute indeed. And for everyone out there listening, On the Line releases right now, digital and video on demand. I really recommend people check out this film. You get a really good charismatic performance from Mel Gibson, get a great twistful story, you get a conclusion that you will not see coming. I guarantee you no one's going to see this twist coming. I don't want to give away too much of there. And Romuald Boulanger, I thank you so very much for your time today. Congratulations with the movie. Hopefully we get to talk again soon, man. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you again.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content. Also, if you would like to request a review and support my work, please join my Patreon via the link in the description below.